Hey, Luke here, and joining me today is Mike Brown, Senior Game Designer at Playground Games, and we're going to play some Forza Horizon 3, a game which I enjoy. It's pretty good.
I'm glad to hear that, Luke. It's really great to join you here today.
We're going to be doing that thing where I normally hate doing this when I'm trying to play a video game and speak to somebody at the same time. Is normally completely impossible. That's why I have to pause. For the purposes of this video, I'll need to do something, otherwise you'll be staring at this car, camera panning over this car lovingly.
Looks pretty good there, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. This is a livery that I put together. When I say livery, it's a paint job. There's nothing on it, but it's reminiscent. Have you ever seen the film Two Hands? It's an Australian crime film.
I haven't
Okay.
Seen it,
Anyway. So let's take it out for a spin. Mike, I mean, I know you left the UK and you came down here. I'll play in. By the way, I'll play in the chase cam. I normally play inside the car, but I'll give you. The cars look so good in this game. I found myself more. I mentioned it in the review. I found myself more and more just playing in the chase cam.
Yeah.
Just to gaze at the reflections. I think everything going on is amazing.
I think one of the big graphical improvements we made in this game is just the quality of the light, which came from the sky capture that we've talked about a lot. But you can just see here, the way the light just plays off the body of the car.
Oh, it's absolutely
makes it more
incredible.
sit in the scene so much better than I think they ever have before in a Forza title.
And I'll head through Byron and I'll go right through the forest. Just the way the shadows whip over the bodywork, it's absolutely astonishing. Sorry, anyway, what I was getting at is that you left the UK pretty much as this game was releasing.
Yes,
but
we
you
did
had
early access last Friday. I jumped on a plane on Saturday afternoon. So I had a few hours of getting to play with the public, and then I was ripped away.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I mean, you had this game sort of, it was in the can. I know games these days get, development never really stops. You're always sort of working on more stuff and more content, but it was in the can sort of as version 1, right?
Yeah.
Several weeks ago. What's been the feeling at the team since then?
So it's a funny thing. Whenever you're working on a game, you obviously hope and you want it to be really well received and really loved, but you never quite know. You're too close to it to really have that critical eye to know. And it was funny, when we sort of first got what we call a green disc, which is the sort of the first ones off the print that gets sent out to the developers, so that we can, so we can just test it. It'll still connect to the server and things like that.
Yeah.
But the first time we got one of those, and we were able to actually just play through the game properly in a normal environment, me and the other designers would just sit around going, I think this is really good, guys. I think this is really, really good. and it was sort of that first time. It was like I say, it's once it's finished that you're really able to play through and experience the way the campaign plays and the way all the different features unlock at certain points.
Yeah.
Here we go. It was honestly at that point where we started to think this could be a very, very good game. And I think once it's got out, once yourself have reviewed it and other people have got their hands on it. It seems like we're not the only ones who think it's quite a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I would be presumptuous, but that must be quite satisfying having the reaction. The press is obviously in love with it, and then now the fans, more importantly, are in raptures. Everyone. The word of mouth for it is incredible. And I guess, I mean, it's on PC now as well as Xbox One.
Yeah, that's right.
But it kind of must also feel a little bit nice to have guys who are, anyone who out there now saying, man, I really wish I had an Xbox One now. And it's this game that's made them say that,
And then that's just an amazing feeling as a game developer that someone's... I mean, when we make these games and we put them out on the shelf and they're... I don't know, what would they be in Australian? Like $100 Australian dollars, something like that?
Yeah, that's recommended.
When we're asking for that amount of money, it's a big investment for people to make for what we've just made as an entertainment product. But when you're hearing people that not only spend $100 on the game, but then a few more $100 on a console to play it on, that's a real honour the thing that we've made is... So enticing and so much fun for those people that they're willing to make that kind of investment just to experience it.
So what is it about, I guess, now, what is it that you are most proud of specifically? When you look at the project as a whole over the past couple of years of work, what is it about this game that you look at and go, yep, I think we really nailed this specific, this part or this particular thing?
I think we've really captured the feeling of being in Australia.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, I mean, this week is the first time I've been in Australia. But as soon as I stepped out at the airport, I was just looking at things like signage and road markings and the cars. I literally stepped outside the gates of the airport, and the first two taxis that pulled up beside of me, one of them was a Holland Commodore and the other a Ford Falcon. I was like, In Australia, all right. We're just on the way to the airport. I was just sort of pressed against the window of the car, looking outside, and going, "Oh man, this really does look like Horizon."
Yeah. I figure that must be quite, must have been quite eerie.
It was. It
With
was.
yeah.
It was like just seeing all those things that I've been seeing in the game for months and years, and to finally see those in real life and be like, man, it really does feel like Australia.
Totally, man. Well, that's one of the things I tried to stress in the review. It's not stuff that sort of means a lot to people around the world, but when you see that you got the right bins, you got the right reflector signs on the side of the road, even the tone of the street signs, the color of the street signs, everything.
Yeah, and I think as well, and the other thing that plays into that as well is, we talk about it so much, but
yeah.
the skies.
Totally.
The skies are real Australian skies, and what that also means is it's real Australian lighting conditions. So it has that when the sun is really high in the sky, the game just feels like it's really warm. You can almost feel
it's like
the sun beating off the environment. Yeah. Which I mean, if we'd set the game somewhere else, we'd have captured sky in that place, and it would have captured a different kind of feeling from the weather, from the environment. But I think it just comes through and just feels Australian, which is...
Well, it's such a subtle thing, and it's something that I've found that I've had to point out as I've showed people this game over the past the past couple of weeks now, right? It's something that I've had to point out, but once they see it, they can't unsee it. So when you see that light, whereas we just drove through the forest and it was kind of it was cool and like shaded and with speckled sunlight and that kind of stuff, but all the green in there is kind of giving the light kind of a cooler feel, right?
Yeah.
And when you're out in the outback, which we're headed out there now. It's subtle, but yeah, everything is kind of just you feel the heat, the orange dust sort of gives this real kind of oppressive, like bright brightness off, and from what I gather, that's a lot of that's to do with the global illumination.
Exactly. Yeah. So the GI, it's based off the colours in the environment. It's based off the light data we capture when we capture all the data for the sky, all the bits of the sky. We also capture all the light data that was in the scene in real life at the time of that that sky was happening, and then we feed all that into the game through the global illumination system. And I think it just gives you this real natural image. It has this real natural quality of light, and the way everything that sits in the environment just feels right. Nothing pops out like, I suppose, games of 5 years ago where... I think all games are getting better at this, about building these scenes where everything just sits and feels right.
Yeah.
And you
the Twilight is some of the best time,
I think just that scene setting and the way everything fits in the world just feels right.
I also like how, I know we were chatting about this when we met the other day, that the days last longer, so you get sort of longer stints in those really interesting lighting like scenarios.
Yeah, like right now.
Yeah, right now.
It's been going on for the last few minutes, but that sort of really lengthy. I don't want to say drawn out, but like it takes a long time. So you spend a lot of time in this really emotive and like kind of romantic sort of light settings, and then
the sun's not quite set, but it is quite dark. You look behind yourself when there's no man-made light around. It is getting quite dark.
Yeah. And it really brings out the environment. So you can see all the mountains in the distance there. It looks, I think just holding it on this sort of this level of light. Yeah. It makes the world feel really big, right?
Totally.
You can there's the light playing across the environment.
Yeah, like you see how the way the trees are framed, like the silhouettes of the trees are framed against the sky. Yeah, it's brilliant. I love driving through the countryside, particularly during the night. Mm-hmm. And you just see the little like we're going to start getting it now with the glow of the reflector poles, and it's just couldn't be more authentic, basically. I keep trying to stress that to all of our international viewers and readers. This is how it looks driving from my home at night, basically anywhere. Because I don't live in Sydney. I live sort of some distance out of Sydney, so it's quite rural. This is just it. It's brilliant.
I mean, it's absolutely great to hear you say that. To give it that stamp of approval.
So what one of the funny things that Ben and I were talking about when he was down here a few weeks ago was the divisiveness of some of the Australian cars, in particular the Utes. Mm-hmm. What side of the fence do you find yourself on? I might drive to the hub here and change. Okay. Change into my favourite one. What's your verdict?
I mean, I love a Ute. Yeah. I think I'm going to be honest that. A few years ago, I mean, I knew what a Ute was, but it wasn't like I'd obviously never driven one in a game because I'm not sure a game's put them in before.
Not really.
Know,
I mean, Codemasters has had they had some racing utes in their Grid Autosport.
Okay.
But generally, no. Particularly not in an open world game with street cars and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of American muscle cars.
Yep.
And I think most of my favourite cars are those classic American muscle cars. And I think the Ute is like you took this classic American muscle car and you were like, I need to take this to work with me. Yeah. It's like
this to be a little more practical.
Yeah, so it's like,
but no slower.
So it's got all the speed, performance, and sound of a muscle car, and then you can put your ladder in the back and go do whatever manly working job you need to do.
I hope it starts raining. Actually, as we're driving around, because last night I was just driving through the Surfers Paradise in the rain at night, and I'm not sure whether I'd had that combination of weather yet. Of weather and night, and I was just driving underneath street lights, and you just get the glint of the rain, and then it goes away. You can't see it because it's invisible because it's nighttime. And then every time you pass underneath the street light, you see this really heavy rain again. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean that just speaks to as well. There are hundreds and hundreds of variants on the time of day and the weather conditions.
Yep.
And you can play for hours and hours and hours and still be surprised by. And I still get this now. I still, when I'm just playing around, I go, God, look at that sunset, and it'll just be a combination of weather and sky that I hadn't seen before. And it. I don't even want to put a number. I'm not sure how many there are, but it does feel like hours and hours and hours into the game, it'll still surprise you with really beautiful moments like the one you just described there.
Yeah. Oh man, this game is just so full of it's the tiny details that I feel are the best ones. They all sort of build up, like I talked about in the review. We can't do it here with the music because we're chatting over it. But the way the music sort of phases into that sort of live reverb and post-processing that they add to it.
Yeah, it's magic,
brilliant,
isn't it? It's magic. I mean, I'm from Liverpool, Liverpool, and like the very first thing I wanted to do as soon as I got that groove, and I was like, right, let's get that Beatles playlist. It's
well, that's something Ben was saying. Everyone's going to have their own music, and they can just bring it to the party, and it's an absolutely amazing inclusion.
Yeah, and it was just like, and when you're driving through the festival, it sounds like the Beatles are performing live at the Horizon Festival. I was like, oh my God, this is magic. If I was the boss of a festival, that's what I would have.
Yeah.
I'd get the Beatles there and play.
So speaking of the boss, the blueprint mode, which I discussed in the review, but we should discuss it more here, is amazing, and I'm a huge fan of that. How much work did it sort of take to bake in the ability to hone every event and change, basically change every parameter, the weather and the vehicles and.
So it was a lot of work in both Event Blueprint and Bucket List Blueprint. We sort of looked at the tools that we had as designers to set up events, to set up bucket lists, and it was basically how can we make these player facing? How can we set these up so that a player can really easily jump in and basically have the power that we have as designers to create cool events and create cool challenges? And the bucket list blueprint one, it ended up where the in-game tool is now more powerful than the tool that we have. And there's things
is that right?
There's things you can do in the game one that we actually can't do on the main bucket list. I'm sure we'll address that in the current when we start doing our tools for whatever comes after Horizon 3. But there was a huge amount of work, a huge undertaking for us to do that. But I think once we decided that we wanted to make the player the boss and we wanted that to be a key philosophy for the game, then it was really important that we had a big investment in the tools that would allow the player to realise that ability and that responsibility of being in charge of the festival.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people as well don't perhaps realise just how much freedom you do have, and how you can get to the end. You can see the credits and have hosted the biggest and best Horizon Festival ever, whilst completely circumnavigating around huge chunks of the game if you want to. If you only ever wanted to do asphalt, after those sort of first few races at the very start of the game, you could do the entire game where it was all supercars on asphalt and never ever touch off-road, or vice versa. You could do it all cross countries if you wanted to.
Yeah.
The game would support you in that. You'd have enough stuff in the game to be able to do that.
You barely have to leave a single car if you don't want to.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. If you wanted to choose the Maloo at the start of the game and then run the entire festival where the only thing that you ever see is other utes, that is a thing that you can do in this game, and you can complete the game and get the end game achievements with that. And I think that's a really cool thing, right? And it's a thing that I think a lot of people perhaps don't realise just how much freedom they have to run the festival their way.
Because you don't even have to, like, whereas in sort of, say, previous games, you get a little bit tied into those car classes that in some, not all of them, but some of them are kind of, they don't have a lot of variety within them, so you see a bit of repetition. So Vans and Utility, for instance, is a little bit one of those. Like, I think there's probably enough for a full field of cars, but you do get a bit sick of, there's another Sandman, it's another, A-Team van. But with Blueprint, you go all the way to the end, and you can do that thing where you curate manually to say up to 50 cars that you can race against in a single event, and the game will just like sort of it kind of just normalizes them performance-wise, right?
Yeah.
And so you're racing against all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a system where, in the same way that you can upgrade your car and take this car up to middle of S2 probably if you wanted to, and stick any engine there you want. Well, not any engine, but you can. You have a selection of engines and upgrades that you can put in there. We basically apply that same system to all the other cars. So it's as if the driver tar that is in that car has gone, right, I'm going to have to, if I'm going to do in this race with Luke, I'll have to go and stick on the upgrades so that I can match his performance, which is basically, I guess, the fiction behind how all those different driver tars have met the performance. But it's to, as the player, you're the boss, you just turn up in your car, and then we'll just make everything else match behind the scenes so that it gives you a good race. So
let's quickly, you mentioned the driver tar, let's quickly talk about that, because I feel like this is something that's been evolving for some time now, that between Motorsports and Horizon, and I think it's a really cool, it's just kind of a really cool solution to injecting a little more personality into a solo experience. So I'm playing offline now, but I keep spotting, friends of mine and game tags I know, or people in the same club as me, for instance. But it's really been elevated here. Look at this. Look at this Dawn, by the way. Look at that.
It's great, isn't it?
I'm going to drive straight off the road here because I've taken my hand off the controller to point at the TV screen like a child. Well, now I've completely forgot where I was. Okay, hiring my friends, firing my friends. It's amazing.
It's great, isn't it?
Yes.
I think as well that just it really makes the community feel alive.
Yeah.
Because it's like you see this thing and it's got like, oh, this is how much credits XP and stuff he's doing. So it's like it's really telling you a little bit of insight into how he's playing the game.
Yeah.
And the things that he's doing in his game. And as other players stop, as your friends, maybe they put the game down and move on to something else. Their driver tar is going to get overtaken by other driver tars that become more valuable. So you encourage you to go and like sack your friend off, or if you prefer, ring them up in time to get back playing it and look for ideas of where they're going to be out of the lineup.
Oh, it's so much pressure. I mean, an old friend of mine I used to work with back in print magazines. He had the game early also, and he and I were reviewing it at the same time. And he was very adamant that if I wasn't going to perform, I was cut. I was cut from the team. So I've been playing every day since, every evening. And happy to report that I haven't been fired from any festivals yet.
Good.
I live in dread of turning on the game to find out that you've been fired from one festival this evening. My God.
I think probably
not this day.
Probably people probably see you as a good long-term bet. You're probably someone like you, Luke's probably still going to be playing this game a few months from now, still ticking up their driver tar level and earning more and more credits and XP and fans. So you're probably I certainly wouldn't sack you from my lineup.
I've actually got one of your chaperones for this week is actually on my driver tar team. Yeah, so he'll have to keep up the good work. Otherwise, I'm sure there'll be people nipping his heels.
A pretty weak drift score there.
Oh, don't point that out. Don't point that out. So what? I mean, this is obviously it was discussed sort of a couple of weeks ago as well. But now you guys need to pivot and think about where you push this along over the next 6 months. So what would you be your sort of, as in your role, what's your focus? What do you want to tackle first? Because I know you get to the end of something, you're like, oh, I wish we could have done that, I wish we could have done that. There can't be that many things that you feel like you've done wrong here, because it's absolutely incredible. But what is it you're going to be your priority?
I think we'll want to try and give people we'll look at what's here, and I don't want to. I can't obviously reveal too much. But,
oh no, of course not. Yeah. We
want to give people things that are different. So they've had this experience. Let's say that if you're a player who's put in 100 hours into Horizon 3, when we do come along and offer you the expansion, we want you to be able to feel like you're going to get a very different experience and a different feel in that expansion, so that you're really getting value for money. I'm trying to choose my words very carefully.
Yeah.
without revealing too much, I think we're going to have some really, really good surprises and some really strong new gameplay types that people will get very excited about.
Yeah, right. And how about then Forzathon? That seems like kind of a... Oh, shit. That, I've noticed when I was in the Forza Hub and I saw a sort of a glimpse of the sorts of stuff that I'm going to be trying to win, I guess, or earn. I guess might be the sort of more accurate term. That's from your studio level. Does that basically how much of a workload increase is that to be sort of feeding stuff into a game on a weekly basis?
I mean, it is a big and ambitious undertaking, I think, for Forzathon, but it's something that we really value community. We really value giving players value for money, and we want players to be able to keep enjoying the game for months and months after launch. And I think Forzathon is it really speaks to that. It's like we want to be able to say every week, here's some new stuff to do. Here's new things you can win. Exclusive cars, which is a huge value thing that we have to offer players. There's going to be a whole bunch of cars which are going to be only available through Forzathon for weeks and months after launch.
Yep.
I think we've got the Sylvia S14. I think it is.
Yes.
In about 2 weeks' time.
Yep.
Which is one of our most requested cars from the community.
Oh yeah, you see that all the time. Yeah.
And again we've got another chance for people to get the Warthog if they hadn't played Halo.
Yep.
And without revealing too much, there is a lot more very exciting cars and stuff that will be coming to Forzathon over the coming months.
Yeah, right.
And in terms of to specifically to your question, in terms of work, it is a lot of work. It is just in coming up with themes and things and challenges for those. It's a big undertaking. It's certainly for us where we've previously been able to ship the game and then it's like, right, next focus is DLC. All right, next focus after that is the next DLC. It's having to split the team so we can manage both of those things. It's a big undertaking, but one that we're absolutely willing to do in order to keep giving our fans stuff to do. And
was there anywhere in particular you looked at as kind of an inspiration for that? Because for me, and you might be like, not at all, but for me, it reminds me a little bit of sort of what the IO guys are doing with Hitman, where it's kind of it's like a live game, it's a living game, so they have these elusive targets, they come out, and you only have one chance to take these targets down, and then you get bonuses based on sort of how many you do over the course of I guess, whatever. You get different suits or something, I don't know. But I guess my question is, for people who sort of get on board Forza Horizon 3 later on, will these Forzathons come around again, or will they be sort of packaged up, or is there not really a plan for that yet?
So, yeah, I mean, I would say that we haven't got that far in the future on exactly what each Forzathon's going to contain, but any car that is exclusive to it, we will bring around again. I think if people miss out on, we've obviously getting a really popular car like the Sylvia or the Warthog. I mean, those are cars that if you get the game for Christmas, which a whole bunch of people will do, they might feel a little put out that they can't drive the Warthog, for example. So certainly at some point we'll bring those cars back around again and give people another chance to get them in a different kind of challenge. But yeah, the specifics of that are not done yet because we've only just finished the game.
Yeah, no, of course.
But everything they should be getting multiple chances to get.
Hey, I'm just going to do one thing, because this is basically one of the things that I've been showing people around the office on our enormous TV out in the lobby. But the level of detail on the cars am I wrong in saying that you can zoom in on the cars more than ever? Because I don't know if I've ever been able to zoom in quite this close.
Show me. It might be a bit.
All right. So basically, this is a really good example because let's go around the front of the car, right? I say, how would I get the headlight off one of these cars? What sort of screwdriver would I need? Phillips head? I don't know. Let's double check. So you just zoom in on this, and it's kind of like, remember that scene in Lethal Weapon where he's pushing the thing further and further away to shoot the target, Riggs? And you think any minute he's going to stop, and it just keeps going, and that's kind of the joke.
Yeah.
Any minute I think this zoom is going to stop, but it just doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going and going, and it's ridiculous.
I think that is the same level of zoom we had previously, to be honest.
Okay, all right.
I'm not going to promise that we had accurately modelled screws previously. That might.
Out and out and out. It's kind of absurd when you go from that and you go all the way back.
Yeah,
It's almost ridiculous. Like I mean, you know,
it's kind of a waste of time modeling that screw, really, isn't it? When you
it's a complete waste of time. I can't believe what are you guys doing? But Mike, thanks very much for coming in. It was an absolute pleasure. Apologies for anyone who was watching that footage and thought it was really terrible, because it's really difficult to speak and play video game at the same time. But I look forward to seeing all the new stuff you got coming out. I'm absolutely addicted to basically getting new cars and that kind of stuff.
Great. Well,
I mean, it's like Hot Wheels, right? You think I've got enough. I've really got enough. There's 300x cars in this game already.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what they are. I'll want them.
Well, don't worry. You'll be well catered for in the coming months, I promise you.
And then in it, all the extra content coming down the track. Thanks again. And for plenty more on Forza Horizon, stick with IGN.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.